Advocate Madumise, good evening to you. Thank you so much for your time. I'm going to get to some of the views that I'm listening to here in studio in just a moment, and with some of our viewers as well today, because this has been one emotive subject. But some have described this, right, as progressive. It's one that is, when you look at the country's democracy, it's a step in the right direction. It signals that the country is moving forward. And then you have others here in studio, my colleagues, who are saying never. This cannot happen. It should never be allowed to happen, because what does it mean for us men? I wonder, what is your take?
Good evening, and thanks for having me. And I think it's about time that when we talk of equality, and those of us who, and especially South Africans, if you believe that you live in a constitutional democracy and a country that espouses equality, these are the kinds of challenges that you're going to have to confront. It might be uncomfortable for you, but the reality is that once we talk equality, surely a name cannot, you can't be stripped of your own identity and carrying your own name for the benefit of the other. And once we believe in the right of every individual to make the choice, allow all of us to make that decision and that choice. If my choice is to have my surname hyphenated, or taking both of my spouse and that of mine to carry on, let it be, because it's about the right to choose, and we've got the right of choice in this country, and that Constitution allows us to test the equality and substantive equality in our Constitution.
And especially because when you read, for example, what the first applicant is saying is that she has a connection to her surname, especially after her parents passed away when she was 4 years old, and she's always had this view that she wants to maintain that connection to them. And for her, this is more than just a surname. It's a symbolism. It's part of her identity that she doesn't want to lose.
Absolutely. And I think the men must ask themselves, what does it do to you? Does it strip you of your manhood if I keep my surname? No, it doesn't. It doesn't tell people that I'm not married to you, I'm not my spouse. No, it doesn't. And I think the sooner we do away with these frills and things that when you really apply your mind to, do not make sense, and they take away others' identity. So if you take this further, one of the key challenges we have had with Birth and Registrations Act, and you'll see when it comes to one of the parents traveling with a child overseas, if you are divorced, is that if the child's surname is not the same as yours, you have to get the permission of the other. And that it has been a challenge for many, that you need to get permission for your child to travel overseas, especially when there's dispute between the parties. So if the child carries both surnames, it becomes very easy for the child to travel. It's very easy for the child to be issued with a passport. So I think for me is men really reflecting on what it does to them. Does it take away their manhood? Does it take away who they are? No, it doesn't. And I think the sooner they come to terms with that, the better for them, because where we are going is that there is a need for partners to carry both their names, and there's nothing sinister about it. It's just a recognition that I'm also an individual. I come from a family, and I want that name to continue to live even beyond me.
How much of that also is in part or most part, linked to what we've seen around culture? For example, where you see that a woman has to leave her home, then go into the husband's home, assume that identity. And in most of the cases, right, in some of the instances with some other families, you may find that even for her to go to her own family's events and all of that, it may just need to be an issue, because they now consider her to be part of this new family, and she must blend in and do everything there. And I suppose some people raise that as a concern to say, how do I then begin to culturally merge the two?
But so the question that I'm asking, if you believe that by me taking your name, it's me being culturally accepted, I think it's very narrow in the way we look at it. For over 100 years, women have been made to be secondary, right? And that they have to follow these traditional practices that strip them of their own identity for the longest of time. And what we are saying, that there's a recognition, especially in the Constitution, that there's a right to equality. And for me is understanding that every single one of us have got the right to choose. If I decide that I want to keep your surname and not take my surname, it's okay. But if I decide that I want to keep both surnames, surely it shouldn't be a train smash that people then think that they can't sleep at night because now I've decided I've decided to bring the two surnames together. Or I decide as a professional that I retain my professional identity, my surname as a doctor, I qualified as X, and I'm known as X in the professional field, and I'll continue to continue with my professional surname. It doesn't take away the fact that I'm married to you with this particular surname. And I think once we do away with thinking that in the name, it means then that if I don't take your name, then I might not love you more, or I might be not appeasing the ancestors, or I might be disrespectful. That's absolute hogwash. It's recognizing that you and I know that I am married to you, and I don't. It's not just in the name. It's how I conduct myself, and people know that I'm married to you because we have done the rituals of people witnessing the wedding or marriage ceremony. So everyone knows that I'm married to you. Doesn't mean that I have to be forced into taking your name. And I think I'm talking on behalf of many women who are professionals who qualified as professionals with a particular name, that in the professional capacity they're known as this person, and they need to maintain that professionalism unless the individual decides to change their name because they want to take over a different identity,
and if you
or
don't,
a different name.
Yeah, and in some of these instances, as you say, if you don't want to take on the other name, or you're forced to, it's such a tedious process, especially to explain that I'm still the same person. It's just that I now use a different name, and I wonder how much of this conversation also potentially needs to then go right down to some of the family conversations, especially because you may find that the couple themselves agree with this, but then the larger family would frown upon it.
Yeah, because I mean, if the larger family is still carrying on the traditions of 50 years ago, of 100 years ago. They have got no understanding of what the constitutional provisions that we have that allows the right to choice, right? And so it's an education thing that must happen, I think. And you find once you engage with people and take them through the process, they come around. They do come around because then they have a better understanding. Unlike when it's done like take it or leave it, right? So I always think that it's a preferred approach to engage people, to understand where the parties are coming from, and to get the support of you might not get the support of everyone in the family, but majority will understand. And once we have those who support you, it will be easy for others to come around.
I want us to take some of the tweets because we're asking our viewers to react to this, and I'm keen to see what they have to say, because others already, you can already tell just how tense they are about this conversation. And I wish I wish you were in studio to even see some of the reactions right now.
But no one is forcing them to take their wife's surname. It's something that it should be available to all of us. And when I decide that, as a man, that I decide to carry my wife's name, I want to do it because it's available and I can do it. It's the right to choose. And I think let's emphasize that you can choose not to, or you can choose to do it.
All right, let's take some of the tweets. Stand by. I want to take them and I want to hear what your thoughts are. Mpo saying, literally, fair is fair. The courts are not saying men must, but giving them the option to is well within our constitutional rights and right to marriage. People read, men finding problems with are just projecting and fighting based on emotions. Dramatic. That is Mpo there. Let's take the next one. Musimani Khape saying, a very difficult one indeed. I believe it will depend on one's culture. And again, if anyone's choice, since we all live in a democratic country. Bethwell, it seems everything is about disgracing Almighty. That matter is supposed to have been haven't been to the Constitutional Court, a totally taboo to a man. Soon they will be fighting for polyandry. Watch the space. Things which aren't existing in the Bible. Good evening, ladies. That's Bethwel Rasakhotuma there. Siabulela, good afternoon, ladies, and good afternoon to your viewers. Hi, Sia. I think we are over-consuming our rights here. The Act is one of the few that are still in congruent with both traditional and religious beliefs in our country. Unfortunately, abandoning these beliefs invites calamities. Your take?
So I think, listen, I think these views should be allowed to come out into the open. And those who believe that it's blasphemous, now we bring in Bible into it, it's a calamity. I just don't understand. They have not, so no, people have not even asked the question on why is it so many have professional women still keep their professional names, right? And it hasn't been disastrous. Their partners are okay with, they're comfortable with it. Families are comfortable with it. So it's just overreacting. They're being, it's a motive, and maybe let's allow the emotions to run because this issue is now is current. It's what we're dealing with at the moment. It will die down over time, and once it becomes part of our daily lives, it might not be an issue and a serious issue at that, right? So for me, it's okay. Let people vent. Let people raise their total, disagreements on this. But the reality is that if you live in this country and you believe in constitutional democracy and you believe that the Constitution is the supreme law of the country and that it can be challenged, and that's why there are challenges that we challenge the constitutionality of any law in this country. Brace yourself that there are many things that are going to be challenged, and the Constitutional Court has to opine. Remember, this decision has been given a thumbs up from the High Court in the Free State. The Constitutional Court has to confirm what the Free State, the High Court in the Free State had said. So it is going to happen, and the sooner we are comfortable with it and start to have, prepare ourselves mentally, physically, and otherwise, and psychologically, the better for us, so that we are not emotive. You're allowing all of us the right to choose, to make decisions on what suits our lives and lifestyles. And in this instance, you balancing the rights to have the right to your name. And if there's a cultural aspect to it, the Constitution always trumps culture and traditions and all these kind of terms. And you balance all these rights at the end of the day. So I'm not particularly faced by all of this. It's something that conversation that must happen. But I think we need to brace ourselves. We believe in substantive equality. When we say that there must be equality and equity, these are some of the things that we're talking about. It can't be that women all the time are made to be lesser of human beings and secondary, and their rights are secondary, and they must always be identified through the eyes of men.
Interesting times ahead, as you say, and I'm keen to hear more from our viewers tonight because we still have this question out there from them, and just to hear what they've got to say. But thank you so much for chatting to us this evening. Appreciate it. That was Advocate Brenda Madumise, Director for Wise Africa.